Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for being here today, and thank you for hanging over as we had to run and vote. They don't seem to care about hearings; they just call votes whenever. Anyways, there's a couple of questions that I think is very important to us, so we can get an understanding. One, if you could answer the best you can. I understand that on March 21st, 2014, HHS issued a proposed rule for making payments that are required by law under the reinsurance program. It's my understanding that this rule accurately reflects what was required by statute. The payments being made in three areas: one to the treasurer, insurance companies, and to cover administration costs. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Believe so?
Yes.
I mean, that's what the law is, right?
Yes.
Then 10 days later, HHS issued another proposed rule that completely changed what was proposed in the first rule. Now the payments would go to the insurance companies, and the treasurer would only get payments until a certain threshold was made for the insurance companies. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you explain why?
So because the statute was silent on how to handle situations where either a lower amount.
What do you mean silent? It specifically addressed the three issues. There was no, it doesn't speak. It's a statute. It's written.
Yeah, it's written to address the estimated collection of $12 billion. What it doesn't address is what happens if a lower amount is collected or a higher amount is connected, which is why the agency felt the need to put out a public regulation.
In the statute, it specifically says that it's to go to the treasurer, insurance company, and cover administrative costs, not the insurance companies, and then pay only after a certain threshold. That wasn't specified in it. Is that correct?
The rule specified how to handle.
No, not the statute, not the rule, not what you guys issued. Yeah. The statute.
I'm speaking to the statute.
Okay, well, you mentioned rule. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the statute speaks clearly to what happens if $12 billion is collected in the first year. Again, this is before my time, but what the agency needed to do was to put forward, and they put forward for public comment 2 years ago.
Has that public comment been made public yet?
Yes.
The opinions have been made back. The response has been made back to the committee.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It sought public comment on how to address situations like the one that arose where less than $12 billion was collected.
And what did the public comments suggest?
Public comments suggested that the policy of first taking care of reimbursing the claims of the insurers was the proper policy and was legally supported.
By whom? Because that wasn't the intent of the original statute, and that's why I'm asking the question. We obviously don't support it going back to the insurance companies. Intention was to help pay down the debt. And yet, after a rule was issued, 10 days later, you reissued another rule stating basically what you guys felt needed to be done.
And I understand that there's a difference of opinion because the statute.
Well, it's not an opinion; it's a statute, which is why, when it is law, and when we have a question about it and we want clarification in it, and we ask a committee or we ask HHS for a response to it, we like clarification. What we never get is clarification.
We believe there's the statutory authority. That legal reasoning was put forward publicly.
So if there was clarification that needed to be clarified, why wouldn't you come back to the committee and seek clarification on it? I mean, because the statute is a statute of what it was, and so other than issuing a rule, then 10 days later coming back and issuing another rule, why wouldn't you just simply come back here? We feel like what happened is that HHS decided to ignore what the statute was, what the intent of Congress was, and decided to make your own decisions.
I don't think that's the case.
Well, then how else do you explain it? Because you never came back here, and we were asking questions and clarifications, and we wasn't receiving those.
This was 2 years ago. It was put forward for public comment for everyone, including the committee, to opine on the very public reasoning that was put forward. It's
my understanding when the committee asked for clarification, there was none issued.
I'd have to go back and check on that, but that's not my recollection. I wasn't here, but that's not what I've learned.
Well, we were still asking questions. We're here today trying to get the questions figured out.
Yes, and we're doing our best to provide answers, including the legal and the policy reasons, and that's what I'm here today to answer.
All right, thank you. I yield back.